Good morning. It is Friday, August 21st, 2026, and that means it's time for DeProgram with Ted Rall and Jamarl Thomas. If it's 9 a.m., it's time for DeProgram, and it is 9 a.m. here on the East Coast. Thanks very much for joining us. I'm Ted Rall. Sitting next to me is producer Robbie West. Well, not sitting next to me, really. He's 3,000 miles away or thereabouts. But sitting in the chair that is soon to be occupied by Jamarl Thomas is Robbie West. So here's the story, what we've got going on for you today. We have this regular show, 9 to 10 a.m. We will then have a Q&A show at 12 noon. This is a new thing. Robbie, I think we're not really ready to go exclusive, right, on this one yet.
I wouldn't. No, I think that probably this one, probably the next one, just have it be free range. Let's just see how it goes. Let people know that we're here,
All right.
and we'll just kind of go from there. At least that's my advice.
All right, I'm going to take your advice as usual. So the plan is to, as Robbie suggested, for the month of August, we'll have 2 Friday shows that are going to be open as usual, like the way the Monday and Wednesdays ones have been and will continue to be. This Friday show is a new thing, but in the future, after September, it's going to be for subscribers to the show only. We're going to be rolling out all the usual stuff is still going to exist. The YouTube subscriptions, the Rumble subscriptions, the Rumble rants, the YouTube super chats, all that stays the same. We're also going to be supplementing all this with a Patreon page, which is going to be a one-stop place, not only to go to Patreon if you want to support us that way, because there are people who prefer to do it that way, and you have a little more flexibility. But we'll also have other ways you can support the show, including the PayPal link and all that kind of thing. I was kind of like working on that yesterday in the afternoon, and I think it's almost ready to launch, but I want Robbie and I want Jamarl to take a look at it first. All right, what's going on with JT? Is he talking?
He's still streaming. I don't know who he's talking to, but he's still on the air.
Okay,
That's fine.
all right. Well,
listen, you've got me.
We'll see him when we see him. Yeah, no, I'm always happy to have you. No problem. No muss, no fuss. All right. So, Robbie, here's what we got going on for today. We, of course, remember the tragic situation with Cambridge University professor Jason Arday. He was accused by a professor at Ghent University. He's an American guy who's in Belgium. His name is Nathan Cofnas. And he basically accused Jason Arday of plagiarism and basically went after him on social media. Jason Arday, age 41, basically at the center of this media controversy, ended up killing himself. And he always denied the plagiarism, said that he'd made some mistakes. He wasn't specific about that. He had he certainly spun a story of a life that seemed probably a little bigger than it probably really was. Like, for example, he claimed that he was running like marathons every single day, which is something that like only elite runners can do. And he didn't seem to be an elite runner. He also claimed to have been nonverbal by the time until he was 18 years old, and nevertheless got to go and got admitted to prestigious colleges and had a storied career. Anyway, the point is that now the targets is on the back of Nathan Cofnas as well. And he is currently been suspended by Ghent University. He's being investigated for discrimination. So, it's just kind of like a crazy thing, a story that just sort of refuses to end.
Discrimination about what? Pointing out that the guy was a liar? That's not discrimination. That's called telling the truth. There's no discrimination there.
Well, I mean, I suppose this thing will play itself out in whatever passes for an academic trial at Ghent University. But, the big story here is that academia has become, even more than it ever was in the past. In the light after Me Too and in the age of woke and all that, it has become just a place where there's no grace, man. I mean, it is a hotbed of backstabbers. And, it's at the point now where if, I were offered a job, and I used to dream of getting a job as a professor of cartooning or history or something like that at some small college somewhere in the United States. I mean, I'd still be interested, but I have to admit, if one were offered to me, I would have to think twice, three times, four times, just whether I was interested in it, because I mean, it's so rough. I mean, look, here's the thing: Jason Arday became the target of racially coded attacks. There's a lot of professors who make things up and are accused of making things up, but this guy was young. He was black. He was the first tenured black professor at Cambridge, and that painted a target on his back. And they went after him. The right went after him with him on social media with a vengeance that's sort of disproportionate to the seriousness of the matter. I mean, let's not forget, these are American conservatives going after a professor in England, right? I mean, he's not even here. And they went after him like crazy. And I mean, arguably drove him to take his own life. So, I mean, I think what they're investigating him for, and I'm not saying that it's deserved or not, but is whether he discriminated against Arday because he was black. And I mean, certainly the attacks were no question racially coded. I mean, I think, if you go back and look at the way, that they were phrased, it wasn't like, hey, here's this lying professor and someone should call him out. It was like, hey, here's this lying black professor who probably wasn't qualified because he was black. I mean, that is the way it was coded. Good morning, Jamarl. Good place.
Good morning.
You always come in the best times.
Yeah, always come in at the great part.
You do. Yeah, you always do. Listen, I'll be the first one to tell you. Ever since I've really started to really big on over there on pickaxe, I almost never go on X anymore. It's a sewer. I don't like it.
It is a sewer.
It sucks. So the attacks that you're talking about, I've never seen them. I don't know.
It's sickening, really.
But here's what I would say, and again, I haven't seen these, so I don't know. So if you're attacking somebody because you are specifically because you are a certain race, like you're white, black, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Martian, okay, that's fine. But if you're using it as an adjective, especially in the age of DEI, and I think that's really probably where a lot of this comes from. Again, I haven't seen this. I'm saying this is my knee-jerk reaction, where certain people, certain groups are lifted up by an immutable characteristics, like who your parents are. You are first generation minority from wherever the hell is it, wherever it is that you are. Kind of like Biden's press secretary. What was her name? LaPierre.
Karine Jean-Pierre.
Yeah. The very first. If you put this as part of your identity, you deserve to be attacked.
I'm sorry, Robbie. She said, "I'm historic."
She did. So she's a woman of color. Check. She's a lesbian. Check.
She's probably the shortest press secretary.
And so she lists this as one of the things that make her so great at her job.
Too. Don't forget that, right?
Oh,
I put down she's a carpet muncher, but the point that I'm trying to make is that if you make that part of your identity, if you make that part of your identity, and then if I attack you using the identity that you gave me, that does not make me a bigot. That means that I'm using the exact same characteristics that you use to elevate yourself.
I mean, I'm with you a lot of the time, Robbie, but that's not true. I mean, if let's say Jamarl is just sort of like gets a big job and he's like, hey, I'm the first black guy to have this job. Right. And okay, that's notable. Okay. It's not notable. And it's like, he's using it to promote himself, whatever, good for him. And then let's say, I'm like, oh, and I've got Jamarl, the first black whatever, who's got this, and then you attack him, and it's like, oh, well, he's not qualified because he's just got the job because he's black. That's still a racist attack. I mean, you're not opening yourself up to being, attacked over your identity just because you pointed out yourself. That doesn't make you vulnerable to that type of attack. I mean, it's still racism. It makes no difference.
I guess we just put on the scale and I'll go away because the other guest is here. But just hear what I'm saying. If you go on these speaking circuits and you talk about how historic it is that you are, and you're using things that you have to completely outside of your control, like you are the success story. You run a marathon 2 times a day. You have hair that goes down to your butt. You're a stunningly beautiful dude. Okay, those last 2 parts are true. But then you talk about how you are functionally, you are completely, you're basically a vegetable till you're touched by the spark of the divine when you turn 18, because your super Ghanaian genes kicked in.
Yeah, that's probably wasn't
And
true. Yeah.
and then you're going to take it a step further. So in addition to running 2 marathons a day, you also find time to get cats out of trees because of your superior, athleticism. And you go and you help little old ladies while you're between marathon runs.
To your point, he had a.
I get to attack you.
Autobiography.
Then I get to attack you using those things that you put up because it's so obviously fake. That does not make me a racist. That makes me a realist.
Right, and if you say like, look, that guy who happens to be black is a liar, that's okay. But if you say that black guy, that's a black liar.
But listen, and as far as JT goes, if JT ever got a job in a high end field like tech or something, it would not be. I'm convinced it would not be because he's black. It's because the dude's wicked smart. That would be why.
As the historic,
Jason Arday was a smart guy too, actually. But
He was a gifted storyteller for sure. I don't know how smart he was.
As the historic first black host on DeProgram, I would like to point out. Look, okay. Look, the DEI thing has always bugged the hell out of me, if I'm being bluntly honest with you. Because the truth of the matter is, you have a country that for, I don't know, hundreds of years, I suppose, worked on a racial premise. Meaning, the DEI thing started when whites were effectively installing themselves in particular positions and would exclude blacks from positions. It didn't matter how smart they were. It didn't matter how smart women were. It didn't matter if they were capable. They just weren't going to get the job, right? And this goes all the way up to like the 80s, where people were being redlined in housing, people were being kept out of certain positions because of their race. And so, in fact, it even became like the shiny object thing where they would say, I'm going to put this black person in a particular position. Okay, but why are they saying that? They're saying it because it's an anomaly that they're putting the black person in a position, right? Like, that's not the black person. That's not, I am black and I got this position because I'm black. It's an anomaly that a black person or a person of color is getting the position at all. That was in government and that was in public policy. And so this idea now, from my point of view, that it gets flipped, where whites were the ones that were protecting whites in those positions and nobody said squat. There was nobody complaining about that, right? It was just normal. And now that African Americans or people of color are getting particular positions, you get whites saying DEI. Maybe they're competent, maybe they're capable. It's just almost as an oddity that they got the position, which is why the fact that they're black becomes an issue, or the fact that they're a woman becomes an issue. To be clear, I don't want anybody getting a position just because they're anything. Right. I don't want a dumb palate getting a position because the Air Force says we need diversity. Diversity is our strength. Not if the guy's incompetent and not if he's going to take a plane. So just to be clear, no black person wants an incompetent black person doing anything if their lives are going to be at risk or if competence is required for the position. I want to make that clear. Right. As a flat fact with metaphysical certainty, there will be no black person short of people who are just racially oriented, who are going to say, yes, I want a black pilot, I want a black captain, I want a black doctor, I want a black anything if the guy's incompetent. It's a flat fact.
And you'll be pleased to know I have been watching Deep Space Nine.
Oh, good.
And I do believe that Captain Sisko is a competent, strong black captain.
Oh, dude, I would argue.
And it's not because of DEI.
It's not because of DEI, right? Right. That's what I mean, right? I want Sisko in that role. I don't want Picard in that role. Yeah, Picard would have lost the war. Sisko would win the war.
I guess to your point about, and I'm probably going to take some flack at this in the comments, so I'll go away because I know we have a show to do.
Oh, right.
I don't know if it's so much. Listen, England in the 1800s.
One last point to touch your point. Yeah. Look, it's one thing to attack the guy. Why does race need to come? Like, if somebody says that guy's a liar, does it matter that he's black and lying?
I don't know.
Right? Does the black make it worse?
I don't know. But let's just say, for example, if I came on this show, as I've been accused of being as a white WASP evangelical for Christ. And then came to find out that I've been going to the titty bar down in Missoula, getting drunk and cheating on my wife. Would the people in the audience
who would be following a long, proud tradition, I have to say,
right.
It would be long. It would not be proud. But then would the people in the chat then be right in pointing out my hypocrisy as being a white wasp?
But they wouldn't say white. They would just say that guy was going to the titty bar.
Dude, they would 100%. They would 100% drop the white card.
Let's just say Jason Arday was.
They wouldn't add white to it. That's what I'm saying. Whether you were white, black, Chinese, whatever, it wouldn't be that black guy went to the titty bar. That white guy went to. It was just the white guy went to the titty bar.
No, it would be like that. No, it would be like that Christian.
I guess what I'm trying to say, what does race
guy went to the
titty? The fact that you're going to the titty bar. Meaning, what does race have to do with it?
That's a hypocrisy thing, right? So, but that's not the same thing. I mean, Arday was never accused of anything hypocritical, like going against his blackness or anything like that. I mean, he was accused of fabulism and plagiarism. Now, the thing is, I got to say that in academia, plagiarism is by far the worst offense, right? In journalism too. Okay, I've been accused by the LA Times of fabulism. I've never been accused of plagiarism. But the point is that, like, Arday really probably wasn't guilty of plagiarism. I mean, there's been already some investigations. It looks like really he's in the clear there. And so what we're really talking about is fabulism. And it's like, okay, so, a lot of people at that state. I mean, for Jason, there's James Fry, right, who wrote that book, 1,000 Little Pieces, right? He's a white guy. He's been rehabilitated.
That's the Oprah Winfrey one, right? Where he was on Oprah Winfrey and she raped over the coals. Yeah. Oh, she ate him alive.
She did eat him alive, but he's been rehabilitated. He has a new book out. I mean, it's the American tradition. You lay low for 10 years and then you come back out. I mean, the thing is, and I know people were pissed at him. I'm one of them. It's like Stephen Glass. I know I was really close friends with an editor who hired him. He wasn't at the, my editor was not at the New Republic. But the point is, Stephen Glass, he could re-enter journalism if he wanted now. I mean, it's like, Jason Arday, I mean, I think with, it's harder for black guys who do shit like this. The guy at the New York Times, he was a black guy who got caught as a fabulist. Oh my God, it's going to come to me. Jason Blair. So Jason Blair, right? I mean, he claimed that he was like, I don't know where, but he was basically supposedly like in the hinterlands of West Virginia talking to conservative voters when he was actually just on his banging on his laptop in Brooklyn, right? And the point is, okay, Jason Blair is no more, right? Like, it's kind of like, if you're black and you do something like that, you are never going to be heard from again. There was some lady who won a Pulitzer in the early 80s. She was a black writer for the New York Times. I forget her name. She was stripped of her Pulitzer, fired from the Times. Again, never to be seen or heard from again. I mean, my point is, it's when same crime, different time. It's sort of like the criminal justice system. And
I think probably a better example of what you're talking about was the NBC anchor Brian. What the hell? I think it was Brian. What the hell was his name?
Brian Williams.
Yeah. So he was talking about we came under fire and just talk about just all these things that never ever happened.
Right.
Or Hillary Clinton, famously, there on the tarmac in Sarajevo. Right. I was under sniper fire. She's walking around, sunny day, perfectly fine. So to your point,
Donald Trump, every second of his life, constantly spewing bullshit, right?
I think those would probably be better examples as you're talking about. But I don't know if that's even a race thing. That's just probably more of a class thing. You're part of the elite ruling class, and you just get a pass no matter what you do.
But it does become a race thing. I do think it's a race. Look, I tried to look at this from the white perspective to understand how they get this wrong. Because look, I will tell you from the black perspective, it is fully believed. We grow up with the full knowledge. It is beat into us. You can't get away with the same things they get away with.
Yeah.
We understand it. It is built into us. We get it, right? You got to be better in order to be equal. Meaning it's not an equal race. You have to be better than them. And as a living example of this, Obama, Harvard, if I'm not mistaken, Yale, Harvard Law Review, etc. That's what it takes to become president, to be black.
Right.
And then immediately behind him, you get Trump, one of the dumbest people on the planet.
Do you think that Jason Smollett played in this at all with the scam that he?
Obama can't
He
get away with
the Rall.
Jesse
Saying
I'm going to bomb the shit out of people. He can't do that.
Yeah.
Trump can do that. It's accepted with Trump. It wouldn't have been accepted with Obama. Maybe not.
Obama did it. What are you talking about? Obama did it. He's the one that normalized assassinating Americans without due process with drones.
That was Bush.
No, that's a normal presidential function. Any president.
Normal about that. That's murder.
No. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying any president would have gotten away with it.
True.
Donald Trump has been presiding over Americans getting killed in Israel, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the Palestinian house right now taking place. There will be no consequence if that American is killed.
I don't think it's serving Americans.
But like those are typical American presidential functions that American presidents will do because media and everything else would allow them to do it, whether they're black, white, gay, straight, or anything in between. I'm talking about just personal activity in the way that people act. Donald Trump can get into the presidency despite being grotesquely incompetent, narcissistic, and everything else. Obama could have never gotten to the presidency if he acted that way. I'm saying this is the way black people think. We must be better. The same rules are not going to apply between blacks and whites. And I think that's the Ted's point. White people do this all the time, right? They can be rehabilitated with this.
People do this.
Not so much.
People make shit up.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with him. Like, I guess the point is, it should have nothing to do with him being black. Any attacks on him should go with the fabulosity thing, not the fact that he's black. When white people do it, they don't bring up the fact that they're white. It's not like, oh, this white person did this, and now you have all of these racial things that go along with it. Well, if he's being attacked on Twitter for being black, okay, what does that have to do with him being fabulous? It's that.
I mean, that's the thing. Yeah, because the coding in the attacks was always like, well, of course he turned out to be a plagiarist and a lying sack of shit.
Yeah,
because he's the first black guy that they hired, and also he's young, right? But he's like, but mostly, look at him, he's black. I mean, that was the implication with Jason Blair too. Like maybe the New York Times shouldn't have hired this guy, right? Because look, some white guy didn't get a job this guy got. I mean, but believe me, I know white guys at the New York Times who are every bit as full of shit as Jason Blair, and I see their bylines every single day.
Yeah. It's all as apple pie. It's a human thing, not a race thing. And I hate this shit when it's like, oh, we finally hired a black guy, and look how he turned out.
By the way,
Shit turned out that way. Why do you think black people are magical beings?
It's also conflating, right? Two things, right? One is about ethics and one is about qualifications, and they're not the same thing. I mean, it's like, so you could say like, but generically, like, let's say a Jason Blair, I don't know if he was qualified or not. I certainly know white people who have been hired at the New York Times who were not qualified. I remember talking to an editor who was 25 years old, and she told me, she was my editor. She told me she had never held a job before. And I'm like, any job? Like, you never worked as a barista? You never you never babysat? Like nothing. I'm like, so this is your first gainful employment. And of course, obviously, daddy worked at the Times, right? Nepotism is a big thing, but they're not the same thing, right? Like, you can hire someone who's really qualified, objectively, 4.0 from Harvard, great resume, and they turn out to be a lying sack of shit. Or like Jeffrey Toobin's highly qualified, he shows his dick to his coworkers, or conversely, someone could end up having perfect ethics and like never make anything up, but just be a dingus. And they're not the same thing. Yes. But it's all conflated. It's sort of like, oh, like, look at him. And even the photos they were using of this dude, there's thousands of photos of this guy, but they were picking like the most unflattering ones and putting them online. It was gross. It was gross.
I do that too when I don't like somebody. I put on the most unflattering photo.
I think that's just human. But Now, listen. Now, after the show,
Yeah,
because
you got to be more careful when you're going after a person of color. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, equality means you don't have to be, right?
There's no equality.
You treat everybody like, listen, you treat everyone the same. If you're going to elevate someone because of something that they have no control over at all, and then you're going to put them in such a way where you can't attack them the same way you attack someone else, you just said it.
I wasn't in the hiring committee. Were you? We don't know.
What you just said is that you cannot attack somebody who's a person of color different than what you could a generic white guy in a majority white country. Disagree. If equality means you treat everybody exactly the same. Sorry, Ted. That's a loss on your part there, brother.
No, I'm just saying that, okay, so theoretically, sure, but in reality, yeah. I mean, when you're it's a personal choice. I drew Obama more flatteringly than I drew other presidents as a cartoonist.
And how that work? And you still got called a racist. How did that work out for you?
Going after me, okay, and calling me a racist at all. But all the Democrats were like, "Well, I wasn't flattering." I'm like, I draw everyone ugly. It's my drawing style.
I think what it is that you're conflating equity with equality. Those are two very different things. Equity doesn't work. Equality does. And equality, everyone should be measured just flat, based on your performance, based on your character. Like if I sucked at my job, working for you, especially with the stellar amount that I get paid from y'all every month, you would replace me with someone more competent. Now I could push back and say, well, you're discriminating against me because I'm the only white Southerners on the show, and you want to hire a Yankee.
Oh, I so agree and disagree with that. I mean, because that argument, and I don't mean to. God, I don't mean to racialize it, but it has to be just as a fact to racialize it in this case, because this is the country that we're in. Look, how on earth can you be in a country that for the expanse of the country, 95% of the country's history, it has worked with a racialized idea? Meaning the country it was in the bricks that it was racialized in a particular direction with a particular bias, where all of the gains, all of the resources, all of these things effectively went to one particular side. I could see it in the amount of wealth between whites and blacks, where you get whites with $140,000 on average and blacks with $14,000 on average. And you look at that, you're like, whoa, that's wild. And then somebody says, hey, from this point on, everything's equal. It's like, no, it's not. No, it's not. If you're living in, let's say, South Africa, for example, and you were all the way up until the point apartheid ends, and it's like, all right, everybody should be equal now. Okay, you're owning 99% of the resources of the country. How are we pretending that we're starting from equal standing? It's not. So I get your point about the equality thing, but the equality thing assumes that everybody is equal and things are not equal.
Right. Listen,
by the way, just one last point.
Sure.
Even that argument of we should be just equal now. Okay, but the country wasn't built that way. It's not in the bricks that way. The people's heads aren't arranged that way. The culture isn't built that way. Meaning none of those things are built that way in order to allow that. And the catch becomes, okay, well, how do you do that in a way that makes sense? Because as a black person, I'm going to look at this and say, well, the stats of this are pretty clear. This is not equal. So how are we pretending that we're equal as we move moving forward? I'm curious on your answer for that, because I don't have an answer for that.
Yeah, no, listen.
Africa doesn't have an answer for that either.
Listen, I get it. I hear exactly what you're saying, and
by the way, you can trash your draw them like an 8. Draw them.
I mean, maybe this is some of the right wing communists coming out of me. I think it's more of a class thing, and so let me unpack this. Don't go away, because we do have a show we have to do.
I do agree with you about the class thing. I do think it's more class.
So no, I grew up homeless. I have no formal education. I'm pretty much self-taught with everything that I have. The first real job I applied for was for the power company down in Gulf Power in Pensacola to do IT work for them. So I had a letter of recommendation from George Stone, went there, I took the test, passed the test. We had to do a biography. It's explaining, why is it that you're doing this? Basically, just it's a sales pitch. And so I put up my biography. The professor said, he came up and said, Robbie, you knocked it out of the park. I would hire you, but I can't because of affirmative action. I have to give it to a minority because we are at our quota of white men. Mm-hmm. Now, to say that white people as a monolith are always better off than everybody else is factually incorrect.
I never said that.
No, I know, but that's the society. Like, so no, it's like, no, you have white privilege, you have all these things. You have so many more advantages than what other people have. The advantage I have was I was living under bridges and eating swamp cabbage. That's the advantage that I had, and I just refused to give up. So now people look at that and say, well, that's just a rando white guy who's mad because he got butthurt and got screwed out of a job because of affirmative action. At the end of the day, kind of like we talked about yesterday, resources are scarce, they're finite. You're always going to have a winner, you're always going to have a loser. And I think that putting race into this is the worst possible way to do it, because that creates animosity.
I didn't put race into it.
No, I know you. I'm not saying you.
No,
I'm saying
that's
but that's what DEI and culture does as a whole. So I mean, if you live in a majority anything country, like majority Japanese, majority Chinese, majority white, whatever else, of course, the majority of the jobs will go to the majority of the population. That's math.
But it wasn't just the majority of the jobs going to the population. It was the society itself making a choice for whites forever. Like, meaning, look,
Come on, Robbie, it's not like roughly 13% of congressmen are black, or roughly 13% of actors on TV are black. You know what I mean?
or corporation owners or XYZ owners. I'm
It's
saying
not
that the
roughly
society
13%.
itself made a specific determination, almost as an apartheid state,
Yeah.
for its entire existence. And I'm not talking about this on individual terms, and I'm not talking about this because look, the majority of people on welfare are white,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
So this is not be like all white people are rich. I don't believe that at all. In fact, when I was at the radio station, my argument was your argument. The issue is
Sure.
class. Like, that's the issue. That's the main issue. But the problem is that after a while, which ironically a white guy got across to me better than anything else, that over time in people's heads, race becomes a real thing. And when you have a society where that racial divide was instantiated from the beginning of the country all the way to like the 80s, meaning where a black person can live, what jobs a black person can do, where they can work, those things directly affect society in perpetuity. It's one thing if if the reason why the Cosby Show, or part of the reason it was so big, and despite the fact that Bill Cosby couldn't keep his dick to himself, besides that point, a show showing a black doctor and a black lawyer as a family with fucking awesome kids leaves an impression in not just society, but also in the black community of, holy shit, that's amazing. Now tell me, what do you think those kids are going to do? And what do you think those kids are going to be? They're a lawyer and a doctor. I would wager they travel. I would wager they're politically connected. I would wager they're living in a decent community. And when they have kids, those kids are going to be oriented around that level of success. They're going to expect it, and the family is going to expect it. And those kids are probably going to be more successful probabilistically than they would be if they were living in some slum. And when they have their kids, the same thing. Meaning this echoes through time. What happens when that is prevented from you? Meaning when you are living in a society that bars you from that shit, it puts you in the cycle of poverty, in a cycle of things that is just bad. Like, meaning I'm trying to point out that history reverberates throughout history. And there are consequences for the things that a particular country or society does, especially in regards to a particular race. So I'm not taking it away from you. I agree with you that the issue is class. The Cosbys are in a different class. Their kids are going to act and function differently because of the class that they're in, not just in a rando direct sense, but in an implicit sense for what the family is effectively imparting to those kids. What happened when that's not the case? So I'm not taking anything from you, and I'm not trying to beat a drum of race. My point of view is basically like yours. The issue is class. If you deal with race too directly, you're going to alienate people. Because as you point out, well, what the fuck? I'm poor. I'm white. How are you doing this shit for blacks to advantage them over us? They're not going to care about the fact that the majority of society, for the entirety of the country's existence, with the exception of the last second, was already oriented around the white race, meaning it was already protected. Even if you were poor, you still had a better standing than somebody in the country who was black. So I say all of this to make the point of saying your point is apt. The reason why I agreed with Sanders and I was against this idea of what is it called? A reparations. I'm for reparations because I think they're owed. But the way I didn't agree that Sanders should do it, because I thought he'd lose, because I thought the majority of whites would say, you're out of your goddamn mind. I'm poor myself. How on earth are you going to make these programs for blacks when I'm also poor? They're not going to think about the larger repercussions of, well, wait a minute, this stuff reverberates through society.
Well, more to the point also, how would you do it? I mean, would someone whose ancestors immigrated here in 1890, would they be on the hook
I
for?
want to check.
Huh?
I want to check.
Yeah, but that's the point that I'm trying to make.
Where's it coming from, I think, is the main point. And then also, like, should Obama get a check? You know, I mean, he's rich.
No,
Right.
he should. He should.
Right.
He's, you know, his family.
I'm gonna go. Let's do a show because we've got a bunch of comments.
Yeah, we have a show. We have a show.
stacked up,
But,
and
Robbie, just to be very clear, I agree with your point. The DI programs are very difficult to pull off today, and they create alienation. By the same token, it needs to be understood where that stuff was coming from. It didn't just come out of the blue.
so if the whole reparations thing, I'll go away. So I'll be an interesting test case. My great grandfather was a Confederate soldier. He was a dirt farmer. He didn't own any slaves. He was fighting because the Yankees were there in the South. That's in his diaries. The Yankee asked him, "Why are you fighting us?" Because you're down here.
It's like,
Fair
Yankee,
enough.
go home.
Yep. And then my wife, her great grandfather was a slave. So in that case, how does that work? Do I pay reparations to myself?
She gets a check. Well, and it's not you paying reparations, it's the government. The government.
Well, the government gets money from tax dollars or just printing it. So either way, they got to take it for someone else.
It's an emergent entity of a collection. The country doesn't. The country is a legal fiction. It's an idea.
Sure.
It's the country that allowed slavery, not you as an individual. In fact, you weren't even living at the time.
Well, I'm going to go away before we derail this any more than we already have.
All right. With 23 minutes left, let's do some comments. And we have another race-related story, which we never
Right. Okay.
about this Navy.
Isn't it great we can have these conversations without people screaming at each other?
It's awesome. All right, here we go. Jason, this is from Golden Talon. Just a comment. Jason Arday was lynched by white gatekeepers who are convinced that blacks don't belong at Cambridge. I think that's correct. The veteran sergeant, the harassment of Jason Arday was just a racist lynch mob that drove a man to suicide. Should he have been fired by Cambridge? Probably. Did he deserve to be terrorized by inadequate white men? No, I would agree with that. So more university professors will off themselves in the future when AI replaces them all and things for the dollar. Digital design, let's assume they're unqualified, treat them as such, then find evidence or don't and retreat to the mat. That's the problem. I have to admit, I don't really quite understand that. So I'm a Ferengi guy. Why do we clothe our women? Okay, that's an inside baseball comment there.
Allow their women to wear clothes.
Yes, it's because they are sexist race. Okay, so in Anon for us, perhaps there is still a class component that isn't being addressed by racial quotas. America may have been built to help white people, but mainly the wealthy, barons above everyone else. Just I wanted to remind everyone of something that I said at the beginning of the show, but we have a lot more listeners and viewers right now at this stage. I'm working on, and Jamarl and Robbie, I need you guys to look at it too, but I'm working on the Patreon page for this show that we should be able to launch next week. So people will be able to support us that way at different levels. There'll be more flexibility. And it'll be kind of a place where you can go, even if you're not using Patreon, you can go and look at like where the PayPal link is and all that stuff, rather than set up a website. I just thought, well, we already have the Patreon and we can just do it that way. And if people have, other suggestions. Okay, here we go. Let's talk about this other racially tinged story. So the Navy has a aircraft carrier under construction that the name had already been selected. It's the USS Doris Miller. So Doris Miller, despite his name, is a dude and not a trans dude, but he was a dude. He was an enlisted sailor who was not trained to use an anti-aircraft gun. But when the Japanese attacked on the naval base at Pearl Harbor in December of 1941, he was a mess attendant, which means he worked in the kitchen. He ran out, and by the way, in the movie Pearl Harbor, you see him do this. It's like he's memorializing. It's really famous, and he basically ran out of the kitchen. Someone had already been shot to death manning the anti-aircraft gun, so he took over and basically shot down at least one Japanese plane, dragged a bunch of wounded comrades to safety, was awarded a bunch of decorations by the military. And so this aircraft carrier was going to be the USS Doris Miller. Now Trump the Navy is probably going to rename it instead after the orange one, the one who not only must not be named, but must be not named on everything, including the Kennedy Center and Penn Station and Washington and Reagan National Airport. And he wants to have everything named after him before he croaks. Come on, this is red meat for the racist base, right? I mean, that's what this is.
Well, they would say, well, no, we're just renaming it. Yeah. And blacks would say, you're fucking insane. And they would say, no, we're just renaming it. It's not about race at all. He can get the next one, blah, blah, blah. That's what I mean, right? This is nonsense. This is obviously red meat for a racist base. And I mean, for one, it's very badass.
Yeah.
I'm in the kitchen. We're being attacked. I run out of the kitchen, get behind a gun, and start shooting in order to defend.
That you've never worked on, ever.
That I've never worked on. The country hates my guts, and I'm still defending the country while it's under attack. And I'm not talking about like a war of aggression where we're going after Iran. I'm talking about in our port in Pearl Harbor fighting the Japanese. That's badass, and he should be commemorated for it.
He deserved the praise, and it was kind of like I don't think there was ever any controversy about things being named after him at all.
Nope.
Also, Lindsey Graham can have a fucking base named after him.
President Bone Spurs.
Doris Miller should be able to. And the other thing is, if you want to choose something to rename, all right, I'm sure there's other boats that you could choose that are not named after famous black dudes, right?
Right. I mean, Donald Trump, Bone Spurs, avoided the military.
Yeah.
The idea that they're naming a boat after him is outrageous.
That
should be
over a guy who's like a medal
war hero, a literal war hero.
Also, he was portrayed in Tora, 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 that old World War II movie that depicted Pearl Harbor. I don't know if you ever saw it or not. Great, in my opinion, that's probably the best movie about Pearl Harbor ever made. Like, awesome.
The movie Pearl Harbor, just by that name, is not that great. But
no,
the one that came out
Tora, Tora, Tora is so much.
The Pearl Harbor movie. That was when Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck.
It's all right.
Yeah, there was this love triangle with the nurse.
A pointless attack after being attacked on Pearl Harbor that the movie talked about. It's like,
but also, one thing about Doris Miller, most people don't realize this. I mean, he was killed, I want to say the Battle of Coral Sea, like a year and a half later.
Oh, geez.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, he was killed. He was killed in action.
All the more reason, right?
So, yeah, I mean, Trump is just this is one of the problems. Where the three of us can have a real conversation about race and class and equity and all this other stuff, and we're coming back from an honest place. Trump is, in this case, doing a dog whistle, and it's pathetic. And the guy should. I hope. Listen, I pray every day he just drops dead from a heart attack. I'm so done with him.
I'm hoping
he sucks. Ball cancer, that works too.
Or multiple generations, something like that. Something bad.
By the way, yesterday I was reading the White House Twitter feed, and it said the X feed, and it said it had a picture of Trump dressed as a general in AI, like a military general, and it said like under the U.S. As long as he is president, the U.S. will be a modern, economically advanced nation. And I'm like thinking, so are you saying really truly that like when you leave office, that like, you know, even under Vance, ideally from your point of view, that we become Afghanistan? Is that what you're saying?
And by the way, what's ironic about that is $40 trillion in debt.
Right.
I don't know if you've noticed this. Japan is selling U.S. treasuries.
There was a big sell-off yesterday. Yeah.
Big sell-off. And what's interesting about it, if you remember, a week before that, the United States was trying to prevent that very thing by bailing out Japan with billions of dollars in euros. They didn't even tell Europe they're going to do it. They just started buying back with euros. The wild part about that is the whole point of that was we're trying to stop Japan from just selling this stuff on the open market because it's bad for the dollar if they do. What did the U.S. do? Nobody wanted those treasuries. So the U.S. ends up buying treasuries, meaning we're spending our money to buy U.S. treasuries so those things don't hit the open market in any particular way that damages the United States. Part of the reason Japan is doing this is because the United States is increasing fuel costs because they attacked Iran. Like, this is insane. Like, it's
insane.
wild.
It is totally insane. I mean, the economic ramifications of the war, I think, have yet to really hit home. But
wait till it hits food. The cost of food is going to go through the roof.
It's in the mail. I mean, food's already crazy. I mean, it's like, I come out of the grocery store with like one small bag of stuff and it's $90. I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
When I was in Malaysia, I used to be able to buy like $20 worth of stuff and have like 4 bags. Not now.
Beautiful thing.
The food has gone through the roof here.
Totally. Yeah, no, that's the big shortage. I mean, and look, we should probably see if we can get an expert to come in and talk about this power generator story that the New York Times, came out with. I mean, I don't know if you had a chance to read it, but it's crazy. But we should, I do. But I don't want to get you too sidetracked here. Although I did want to just sort of do a side thing. Did you see where there's been an arrest in the Nord Stream 2 pipeline?
Yeah, I saw that.
Wow.
I mean, I'm waiting for Joe Biden to be taken out in handcuffs because, I mean, look, let's be honest, right? If Joe Biden comes out and says, like, if a president comes out and says, if Russia goes into Ukraine, we're going to effectively blow up the pipeline. And then the reporter says, well, wait a minute, that's not your pipeline. How are you going to stop the German-Russian pipeline? It's a European halfway anyway product. And Joe Biden said, we'll do it. Right. The Russians go in, the pipeline blows up. You had effectively, let's say, NATO countries coverage over it at the time the thing blew up. And then they're like, we have no idea what happened.
Right.
Okay, was Joe Biden a psychic? Did Joe Biden have psychics on staff? How did Joe Biden know that the pipeline was going to blow up? And then all of them are turning around like, we have no idea what happened to this pipeline.
Yeah, and very little interest in even pretending to want to find out.
Yeah, the U.S. obviously blew it up. They obviously blew it up. Why are we pretending that this is like a mystery to us? And then they're like, well, we think 4 Ukrainians in the SS Minnow, on a Tuesday did it on a drunken bender. And then they keep changing stories. And it's like, well, Zelensky did it. Oh, that's pretty convenient that Zelensky is a political opponent of Zelensky. And now you're saying that he was somehow responsible. But just to be very clear, he didn't tell Zelensky. Like, okay, guys, just stop. Just stop.
Robbie, hold on a second. Let me put Robbie on here. Robbie, what's this question that you're talking about here?
So Fraz has, but it's more of a comment. Let me go up and see. Forget. So this is from Fraz Mataz. Good morning. I have a question for Ted, you, and Jamarl. The author of The Maturing Candidate based the handle mother of Roy Cohn. True story. Look it up. Basically, he wants us to just do a deep dive into The Manchurian Candidate. So if there's a parallel between that book of all those that we're seeing now.
Well, we talked about it yesterday. I mean, I read the book.
No, I know. But they just asked us to just take a closer look at it.
Okay.
By the way, the CIA did do psychological research. Like, meaning they did used to use like LSD and these type of experiments in order to see whether or not they could control people to do certain things. I mean, they were working in these areas. I don't know how far along they got with it, but they were.
Pretty far.
I don't know.
That movie Jacob's Ladder is a fictionalized version.
Oh, that's so good.
So good.
Terrifying. Scared the shit out of me when I first watched that movie.
Totally creepy and weird. Yeah, it's great. Yeah. Let's talk about. All right, so let's. I think we can. So all right, let's talk about the Democrats who are salivating at the probability of taking back the House of Representatives.
By the way, I like Cynthia Nixon. I like her.
Oh, I like her too. Yeah,
I had the opportunity to watch a few of her interviews. She's really good. She's likable. I like her.
I voted for her for governor, but didn't work out. So anyway, Representative Robert Garcia, Democrat of California, and Jamie Ruskin, Democrat of Maryland, are basically in line to run the oversight and the judiciary committees under a Democratic House next year, Assuming that happens, I think it's likely or not,
Okay.
it'll happen, right? So basically, what they're teeing up is that they want to make the 2028 election about accountability for specifically against Trump, and that they want, as part of that, they want to, yeah, and what they want to do is spend next year having lots of investigations of Trump's acceptance of the Air Force One from Qatar, and like the crypto investment schemes and all the grifts that
Yep.
Trump has. I have thoughts, but let's hear yours first.
Look, I want them. Accountability should be item B about Trump.
Right.
Like, maybe go after him. God bless you. Yes, do that.
Yes.
First and foremost, give me your manifesto. Right? I want a real manifesto. I want acknowledgement of, we fucked up. We got this wrong. We had to focus on things that weren't really in Americans' public interest, or that America didn't necessarily care about. Our over focus on Trump was a problem. We're sorry. We will do better. We will be transparent from here on out. And this is the items that we want. These are the top 3, and we're going to go to the mat. We will crawl on hot glass to get these 3 things accomplished. Everything else matters less. Item B, we're going to put Trump in jail. Right? I want you to focus on Trump. I don't want that to be the main focus. What are your thoughts?
That's exactly what I was thinking. I'm like, no, by no means should you not do this. It should just not be the main thing you're worried about or thinking about or working on, right? I mean, the number one thing you should be working on is the main problems of the American people, and those are, high prices, low wages, not enough jobs, AI, climate change. Those are the things you guys have to be focused on, and it just seems like they want to run out. They ran against Trump throughout the Biden administration. Now they want to run against Trump after Trump leaves, assuming that he leaves. I mean, that's what you wanted to spend all of your time doing. I mean, definitely. I mean, he should be nailed to the wall for the crypto stuff, but that doesn't put any money in my pocket, right? So, I think everybody's looking at it like, what are you doing? What are you going to do for us? I mean, we have this, old people are big voters. I'm one of them, right? It's like Social Security is in deep shit in 6 years. Promise to save Social Security, Medicare for all, right? Do something about college costs. Do something about the fact that young people can't go to college. They can't afford they can't get a job when they do go to college, and they can't buy a house or a car, right? Assuming, like, if they want to, it's like, do something about that shit.
Go big.
Get to work,
Yeah, go big. Like, if nothing else, what Trump has shown us is that the political space is wide. If not, he has, like you talking about, because Obama and many Democrats, they function as like, oh, we're in the box. We can only do X or Y. Nonsense. This president has shown that there is wide political bearing, that the president has power over, and the things that they can do.
Yeah. He's proven that.
Yeah. Go radical. Yeah. Go radical. It's like, I would argue that they are functioning in a space that no longer exists.
Also, what about using some novel new approaches, right? Like, move into the 21st century. What if, for example, the House Democrats were to say, we're holding a national plebiscite on what the biggest problems are today, and you list like 10, and everybody's going to get an app, and like, you can answer those questions online, and like, we're going to take, and we're going to be in like, this is what you could make it, you could gamify it, you could make it exciting. You could be, and it's like, oh, who do you want? Who do you want? What experts would you recommend to us, who we may not even know, who could, like, inform our thinking about, from the left, from the right, from the middle, about, say, affordability, just like, bring the American people into not have it be top down, bring us into the conversation, because that's what people respond to now. Businesses do that, successful ones do.
And be radical.
Yeah.
And I'm using the term radical, but I would argue that I don't think radical is radical.
No.
Like, especially in this space.
I always say radical problems call for radical solutions. We have radical problems right now.
Donald Trump got elected.
$40 trillion national debt, right? That's a radical problem.
That's a radical problem. And I guess I'm making the point of saying, under normal how can I say this? When you're in certain times, things seem normal. Donald Trump is not normal. The fact that Sanders was able to nearly get elected, that's not normal.
Right.
Meaning, I'm trying to make the point of what people think is normal is not normal in the context of what
the American people don't currently feel that things are normal.
Right. Hence, the political situation and what Democrats can do is expanded. If they came out with either a plebiscite or they say, look, these are our national priorities. Everything is subordinate to this. This is what we're going to do. You put us in office. These are the things we're going to do. If you give us the power to do it, we're going to do it. Now, the problem is trust. Right. Nobody believes that shit. In which case, from my point of view, you have to come out with we fucked up first and foremost. It's like an alcoholic. I'm an alcoholic. I drink, 5 gallons of vodka every day. Right? I didn't think I was an alcoholic, but apparently I am. Yeah, you're drunk.
Yeah.
You need to acknowledge that before you kind of do something else. I think there needs to be a come to Jesus moment.
It'd be like, listen, we're addicted to corporate money.
Yes.
But you could help us. You could, like, we got small donations from you guys, and again, you guys could do a game show. Like, you could do a fundraiser, like a Jerry Lewis telethon. Hey, so that we can tell APAC to go stick it up their ass. Like, we're going to need $150 million tonight. Come on, America. Your Democratic Party needs your help.
They got to do something. I guess my point is their space is wide open. It's not constrained. It's not constricted. They need to go big. And as you point out, corporate cash is the issue, right? Corporations are not necessarily going to be fond of this idea of Medicare for all. Well, maybe. Actually, you could sell Medicare for all the corporations because you're effectively saying, look, you don't have to pay for your employees' healthcare. The government is going to pay for it, in which case that's something that's off your business. I never understood why it started that way, but it's obviously a drag.
It was a stopgap thing during the Truman administration.
The war, right. But now it's just a drag on businesses. Other countries don't do that. Right.
All right. So, we got comments here. We got 2 minutes left, or maybe a minute and a half. Dead Meme Club, thanks for the $10. Robbie is cracking up JT. Cracking up JT is hilarious. JT has the most contagious smile and laugh. Do y'all think that everyone in the future will have the same skin color of light brownish like the South Park episode? That's also in Ursula Le Guin's Left Hand of
Darkness. Yeah. You read that book?
Great book. Yeah. Yeah. She's great. And basically everybody, it's like basically the person who's omnipotent wishes for an end to racism, and the solution is everyone's gray, kind of. P.W. Walker.
They have the same race.
Yeah, I don't think it would be good. I don't have a strong opinion about it, but overall, probably not. Differences are good. P.W. Walker. To solve modern problems, Democrats would have to go after the monopolies and cartels. The problem is that the last thing that they want to do because they're subservient to the ownership class. True, $1 closer to revealing my magnificent titties, according to Manchild. P.W. Walker, Democrats obsessing for no work, no show jobs once they leave public service. You don't get those by getting in the way of the ownership class. Yeah, it should be illegal, by the way. That's another thing Democrats could propose. Like, it should absolutely be illegal to serve in private industry that's even obliquely related to the function you served in government for 10 years after you leave, right? Yeah. Like, if you worked for the agriculture department, you don't get to work, go work for a combine company, no.
Yeah, right. Like Dick Cheney and Halliburton. That'd be a VP.
All right, I hear coming from somewhere. I'm going to go ahead and I know that's firing up TMI. Where am I turn that? Oh, there it is. There we go. That's off. Anyway, that reminds me, TMI is coming up right now. Please go ahead and check that out. DMZ looks like it's going to be 8 a.m. tomorrow because Stantis just can't get his shit together for the 11 a.m. on Fridays. But that's just as well because I don't even know what the fuck we were going to talk about today. So we'll figure something out by tomorrow. Check that out if you're up early tomorrow or stream it later. TMI up next, Q&A show, first time on a Friday, 12 noon, 2 hours. See you then.
Have a good one, guys. You should invite Manila on here one day.
Oh, yeah, we'll do it. I will bring that up as soon as we come on. All right.
Have a good one, guys.
Bye.